everyone is get that prompt on your agenda, but we record these meetings, help with telling the minutes, and obviously with the audio on our website has been our practice for quite some time. So people that aren't with us can listen along, and anyone from the general public can do that as well. So we have that taken care of. We'll just confirm a phone number or two here. I think that we saw joining, and ends in 9124. Could you identify yourself, please, and unmute?
Yep, Justin Scabry.
Oh, thanks, Justin. We should commit that to memory, but I know with the survey response we had a number was listed there. It was not that one, so thanks, Justin. We'll rename you here for that case. All right, good to see. And anyone else? Is this your first time joining an MPO meeting? Not in the room, but anyone remotely? We'll ask you to introduce yourself if that's the case. Okay, hearing none. That just kind of helps for introductions in the room here. I'll do that quick round robin in case you can't see us on the owls, but we have myself, Steve Herman from SEDA COG. We have Sam Sachs from SEDA COG, John Delvecchio standing in for Sean today, Union County voting member, Greg Moulter from Montour County, Bob Stout from Montour Area Recreation Commission, Lincoln Kaufman from Snyder County, Justin Batchick from PennDOT Program Center, Central Office, Brad Kerstetter, Juniata County Planning, Don Keel from SEDA COG, Nate Walker, PennDOT Central Office, Kristen McLaughlin from SEDA COG, and rounding out, last but not least, Brian Funkhauser from Michael Baker International. Other kind of quick introductory things I wanted to mention here up front. I'll go to our slideshow and hit share screen as part of this as well. Bear with me 1 second. So everyone can join along. So we have our attendance here. We'll update that with Justin joining from Northumberland County as well. But we wanted to take a moment and recognize Don Keel. We've worked with Don for a long time, and just have this little nice rendering that was done by a graphics person in the past to acknowledge Don's retirement. I know we shared this. He'll be retiring from full-time status July 3rd, but we're pleased, as we've shared, he'll be able to stay on part-time and help with a variety of work that we do here at the MPO on the local technical assistance program fund, EV charging stations, other kind of special initiatives. But it's been great working with Don over the years, and we're glad you have some free time emerging as well since going part-time status. And just wanted to make that overture and then give you an opening too, Don, if you wanted to say anything at this time with what you're transitioning into.
Well, I'll be brief, which is probably a good thing for all of you here too. But as Steve mentioned, I'll go part-time, and we'll see how that works out for a longer period of time. But I'm looking forward to keeping my hand in on a lot of things. A lot of you know that I was hired when I was hired back in 2014. We were starting the natural gas cooperative. Some of you have been involved in that. Brad is past president of that. And we've had a lot of work that we've done with that over time. But in the last few years, I've transitioned more to straight transportation work as the gas cooperative's kind of gone down in importance and what we've been doing there. So it's been great to be back in the transportation field, doing a lot of things that I did in government and consulting. It's been over 40 years that I've been working in transportation. And so you don't want to just leave right all at one time. I think it's going to be good to stay involved. Steve and Kristen and Sam are great to work with. I'm looking forward. There's a new person coming in as well, so that Steve may be saying something about. But look forward to keeping involved with all of you, at least off and on. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Don. We appreciate all your dedication as we identified on the slide here, and just collaboration over time, the expertise you've brought to bear, and working with the MPO members, and obviously on the natural gas side with all kinds of other stakeholders in the region. So thanks for everything. On the other kind of staffing front, we have that opening, as we said, to get a full-time person to join the planning team as well. Still, collecting applications. If there's folks you know of in your network, as part of that process, feel free to steer or direct them our way. That's on our website, and also leverages our new kind of bamboo system tool, which is pretty nice for managing some of those kind of personnel and HR things as well. Additionally, we did recently select a new GIS intern. We try to keep a pool of interns regularly. There's a lot of activities we're working on and things that can supplement what Sam does and benefit in our program. And so we have a recent graduate within the region, and they'll be available starting July 13th. So we'll start to have some part-time hours from a new GIS intern. So we're excited about that. Coming up here short term. So that's kind of the staffing things and kind of call to order. There was something else I wanted to mention. I know it was news to Greg. I don't know how the channels work in communication, but there's sad news, unfortunately, to share. If you weren't aware that Mark Morowski, our colleague and friend from Lycoming County, passed away last Friday. So I wanted to acknowledge that as part of this. He was a great resource and an institution and just a monumental person in the transportation planning and other larger planning world here in Pennsylvania, not just Lycoming County or Central PA, and really was a force for transportation projects, collaborations, partnerships, and community benefits all across the area. So I know a lot of you remember Mark from coming to our meetings and participating in those and all the various committees that he was a part of over time. So acknowledge that for everyone as well. But we'll be thinking about him, his family, and missing him. Anything additional anyone has as part of the call to order? We're transitioning into the public forum stage here for agenda item B. Okay, hearing none, we'll go right up to item C. This is the approval of the April 10th minutes. Hopefully you had a chance to either take a look at those when we shared the packet on Monday or when you arrived here today. Those are in your packet, running pages 3 to 7. And if acceptable, we'd look for a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
Motion.
Okay, I got a battle here, so I think we'll give them the first to Lincoln and the second to Greg, just in the room, but thanks Jim as well. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you for that. We'll get those posted to our website afterward. Next is item D. It's our normal customary business for the tip modifications. We have a couple amendments here in District 2 that run on pages 9 to 11, and a new one, that sheet add-on that you would have seen emerged after we shared the packet on Wednesday for an amendment in District 3. So you'll have that as well. And if you're following online from our website, we did slide that in as the new page 21 for that. So first we'll defer to Mark Schultz. Would you mind unmuting and describing the amendments? And then we'll go through all three of those, Mark, and then we'll just take a vote to approve all three if that works for you.
That works for me. Thank you, Steve. And I'll just take a quick moment and say, Dawn, thank you for everything that you've been involved in. You always expressed and had a lot of passion for the work, and we appreciate that on the transportation side. So moving in. First off, on page 9 is the US 22-322 resurfacing project. We're looking to advance this project phase, preliminary engineering phase. It is currently funded on the 2027 draft tip. We're looking to advance that, move that ahead and get that started. This is work between, it's in a sense, a missing link. We did some work beyond our truck in Juniata towards SR 35 in Mifflintown. We're now currently in construction with 22 Narrows project, where we're rehabbing that concrete. So this portion of 22-914 will be a resurfacing that will tie those two sections together and close that gap. The second amendment on page 10 is for the SEDA COG project VRUs. This is a second round of vulnerable road user updates, for road user traffic signal updates, pedestrian countdown systems, and other needs. This is round 2, and we're looking to initiate that. This is also currently planned on the 2027 tip, but we're anxious to get that started, and we had some safety funds available to be able to promote this preliminary engineering phase and advancing this preliminary engineering phase to one, get out for surveys at multiple locations, and two, to get a contractor, a consultant on board to initiate that design. And the third amendment on page 11 is for the SR 522 ramps and roadway restoration. This is in the Lewistown area. We've been interested in resurfacing and doing some work on 522. We were held off this year for some utility work in that area. I believe water and sewer were in that area to do work on the roadway. Thankfully, we coordinated that and were able to delay our portion of that project. We also upgraded the 522 ramps for 322 or 322 westbound last year. We're looking to get into the other three areas in this location. So we're looking to advance a preliminary engineering design for that. This project is also supported and funded through the 2027 TIP. So that would be the three amendments requested by District 2.
Great, thank you, Mark. Appreciate you running through those. Are there any questions at all on any of those projects for Mark Schultz? Okay, if not, we would look for a motion to approve the amendments, each of those as presented. And then we'll follow. Oh, sure, thank you, Jim. Do we have a second? Second by Brad, thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? I think that was just a delay on the approval, but if I'm off there, let us know.
It was me. Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, it was Justin. Yeah, no worries. We'll get the necessary E-step into PennDOT after today's meeting for those, and those will advance as appropriate. Mark, we also have the normal kind of lesser items included, the administrative actions as well. Start on page 12. Any you'd like to highlight from there?
We'll start off with the top project. The first project on the list is a low bid adjustment. That is use of the TSMO reserve line item. So this was discretionary funds that were brought in. This is an Interstate 80 project for ITS upgrades. On page 13, in the middle there, we have bridge removal. We're looking to advance funds that are also statewide discretionary reserve line item funds for bridge removal projects that are going on throughout the region. This project had advanced, and where we were able to advance 100% state funds from 2028 into 2026 to allow this project to move forward with a bid. And then at the bottom of page 13, moving into page 14, is the construction phase for the SR 2023 Oriental Covered Bridge. It was struck once again by a vehicle, a truck, I believe. And we're currently in design with that, looking to get that out to a construction bid later this year. Moving on to page 14, then fully, we have, I guess the middle of that page is the preliminary engineering and the plan preparation needed for that plan. We're looking at a September bid date for that project. And let's see, at the very bottom of 14, rolling into 15, is a reflective pavement marking project. We're working on and looking at sections on Interstate 80, 220, 322, and US 22 for reflective pavement marking installation. And we're currently in the pavement analysis portion. We're verifying and identifying that the pavement is sufficient for the installation of those reflective markers. On page 15, we were adjusting in the center of that page for 22, Mifflin 22, which is the Lewistown bypass, and it's the rehabilitation of the bypass. It was recognized that there were some pavement problems. Pavement was peeling off of the previous concrete structure there. And we jumped on a project here and have one. We actually have it advertised for bid on July 16th. So that was construction funds that were being put towards that. You'll see later in the administrative actions, there were some adjustments to that, and I'll allude to those as we get there. Moving on to page 16, at the top of the page, we had the obligation of federal funds. Those funds, as we see and appreciate, we bring those funds back. Federal funds for completed phases on projects, bring those funds back to the reserve line item and then utilize them in other projects as needed. Middle of that page is a distribution of some of those deobligated funds for BOF, Bridge Off System, towards the Juniata 2006 project. And let's see here, at the bottom of page 16, as I mentioned, we had recognized an influx of state funds that we had gathered and collected. And state funds are unique because we have certain commitment needs, or we have certain milestones and elements that need to be in place for commitment of state funds, as opposed to federal. Federal, as long as we have the federal obligation for those funds, then we can proceed and carry those over from one fiscal year to the next. But as we approach the end of the federal fiscal year here in September, this bottom portion of page 16 was important because we recognized that the 220 restoration, the US Route 22 restoration project, which is the Lewistown bypass, we were able to, because of the bid date on that, we were able to incorporate state funds, free up some federal funds, because the early let date for this project will allow us to actually commit those when we have an awarded contract for the construction. So just a quick explanation on that. Page 17, let me see here, top of the page is just some balancing. We're balancing funds between federal fiscal year 27 and 26. And then at the bottom of that page, we were advancing funds into federal fiscal year 26 for the 220 corridor highway restoration preliminary engineering phase. That, much like the amendments that we just discussed and approved, will allow us to initiate that, allow us to initiate survey, initiate design, and get moving in advance of the September deadline. Moving to page 18, center of that page, we had an updated estimate for the 2023 Oriental Bridge in Juniata County. We had an updated estimate for that because of some increased survey and time critical plan development to be able to get that project out to a bid date. And then at the bottom of that page, again, we had advancing of funds from 2027 fiscal year into federal fiscal year 2026, allow us to tie up those funds and commit those funds for those project phases. On page 19, we had more balancing. We were utilizing available NHPP funds there. This again involves the 22 Lewistown bypass project. And in the center of that page, we have the Protect Reserve Fund and the Protect Reserve projects for SEDA COG, the Mans Narrow Wall Slide. This is 322 and 1005 between Burnham and Reedsville. And then at the bottom of that list is the SR 120 fill slopes, which is a 6.5 mile stretch section of roadway in which we're doing multiple fill slope rehabilitations and corrections across there. And then to wrap that up on page 20, we increased NHPP for the US Route 22 restoration. So on this last administrative action, we were able to reduce the STP. STP is more available for use amongst other projects than NHPP, which is typically specific to National Highway System routes. So that makes it more available for us to utilize in other projects. And then that wraps that up for administrative actions, if anybody has any questions.
Great, thank you, Mark. Again, these are lesser actions, don't require a vote. They're not amendments, but any questions at all for any of those activities Mark mentioned? Okay,
Great, thank you,
hearing,
Steve.
thanks, Mark. We have a new page 21, as we mentioned back here in this slide, and it's to account for that amendment that came in this week from PennDOT District 3. And so that's your handout here, kind of the green and yellow for those of you in the room. And online joiners, it's been updated on our PDF on our website of the meeting packet. It's a new page 21 for 2 projects, I think concrete work at intersections. And so we will look for Preston, Mostel, or Justin, either of you want to cover this one? Okay, yeah. Thanks, Preston. Go ahead, please.
Yep. So both the 2 projects are just going to be intersection concrete repairs. We're just kind of looking to get these approved so that way we can kind of go forward with the engineering design phase.
Question. What concrete are you repairing at these locations?
I believe it's. Give me a moment to look. It's not actually, I can't find anything on it currently. I can get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Who was asking that?
John Delvecchio from Union County.
Are you concerned with some things related to the trail crossing, or okay?
Doing work that's gonna get torn out another 18 months or disrupt that. If you could get back to me with more information on that, I would appreciate it.
And these are just for
Absolutely.
PE, so that there'll be some coordination there, so I would think during PE that would come up, that they'll, you know what I mean?
Hopefully, yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that up, Preston, go to the project manager and bring that up and stuff, but yeah, it's just preliminary phase to add this, so they're not actually doing any work, just start design, so that coordination should occur during design, it should.
That's, yeah, that's why I think that's.
Okay, thank you, Preston. Any other questions about this project, or 2 projects for the concrete intersection work within Union County at the 45 and 192 intersections? If not, we would look for a motion to approve those, and they can start getting underway with the preliminary engineering. John, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Greg, thank you for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Preston, the administrative actions for District 2 now start on page 22 of the updated packet. Are there any that you'd like to highlight or review for members there?
There's a few that kind of are the bigger items. There's a resurfacing one for action item 144896. That's a pretty big one where we're transferring over money for the construction to begin. There's another one for the lighting upgrade for action item 145008. That one's just going to be getting added to the tip so that way we can get it started. There was another one for action item 145104. That's the multiple bridges over the fishing creeks. This one, BAT's kind of delayed us getting NEPA, and so we're just needing more funds pushed towards preliminary engineering in order to keep working towards NEPA, of which then we'll continue on to final design. There's another one for action item 145-201, where we're just adjusting the funds so that way it gets fully funded on the current tip, so that way we can proceed with getting it the 4232 approved for it, so that way we can get it pushed along. And then action item 145-227, we're just we got an updated estimate for it, which we're just giving back BRIP funds to the reserve item. And that's kind of the bigger items. If there's any other questions on any of the others, the rest are just kind of general addings of state funds and whatnot.
Okay, thank you, Preston. Yeah, this slide here that we have up, we try to highlight those that are maybe greater than $300,000 adjustments, whatever's occurring with those projects, and put them in this table. And you can click on the project status report link to go to the PennDOT one map, or go ahead and find the Google Street View in case you want to check those out. So we try to compile those more significant projects, whether they're amendments or larger value adjustments, right here, and what we share with the PowerPoint presentation for the meeting. And I didn't mention up front, we did enable closed captioning. Hopefully that's okay for folks. The person, Akana, that does our program assistant work, had requested that as she develops the minutes, and might also help for accessibility terms for anyone that's joining as well. So hopefully that's working okay with the captioning added here for the meeting. But are there any questions on what Preston covered or anything else within the packet for the District 3 adjustments? Okay, don't see any hands raised or hear anything from the room. So thank you for that, Preston. We did have in this section of the packet our typical, approvals of projects that still need, other funding or action by other parties. So the Fort McClure Boulevard Access Road project is showing here in Bloomsburg that we heard about in the past, and I think that's still under DCD review, but PennDOT has agreed to administer that if it was awarded funding by the state and the Appalachian Regional Commission. So that's showing on that table on page 31 now of the packet. So if there's no questions on any of those items, we'll go ahead and just segue into item E, and that's this normal CSVT status reporting. And Preston, would you be able to highlight those for us, please?
Absolutely. So the southern section is 100% complete now. All of the construction for that is done. For the northern section, some of the key items is that we're continuing to place drainage throughout the entire project. We're kind of placing and grading the sub base around the north end of the project. We're also preparing the concrete batch plant, and we are constructing new and realigning existing ramps. For the ITS contract, we're planning on advertising that sometime in late May 2026, as well as for a separate smaller contract to install the message boards in each direction of the CSVT, as well as the traffic cameras. That's going to be anticipated to be let sometime in July this year.
Yeah, lots of activity. Certainly the construction season is well underway, and hopefully the weather accommodates for the additional work here throughout the summer. So any other questions on CSVT project status or contract work? Okay, thanks, Preston, for filling in and touching those for us. If there's no other comments, we'll move right along into item F. That's our typical work program, staff activity reporting update. So within the packet, we have our our usual grid here for this, or on page 33. Some of these items are touched on later in the, excuse me, the agenda pieces, so there's just a couple things I was gonna to mention. One on the NEVI EV charging station front, the Southeastern PA community charging program opening did occur. Till it gets to the central region, that encompasses SEDA COG. Last we had heard it might be midsummer, maybe July or August for that opening, and anticipating about $2 million being available to put out for contracting to deploy these more community charging level EV charging stations within the region. So we'll stay tuned for more on that, monitor it and share it out with the members as it becomes available. But likely the deadline for any applications for that will be spring of next year, and then hopefully awards will be made in the summer of next year. So we'll look for various communities within the region to start getting some investments and influx of more EV charging stations through that NEVI program, the electric vehicle infrastructure program. On the kind of congressional front, just note there, spills over the top of page 36, but if you weren't aware, the U.S. House Transportation Committee has passed its proposed reauthorization. So with bipartisan infrastructure law expiring September 30th, we're in need of a new multi-year transportation act. And so the U.S. House has passed through the committee, at least, its Build America 250 Act. So playing off of that 250th birthday for our nation this year, they're naming it currently the Build America Act. So it needs to go before the full House and the floor. It's only gone through the committee level, and I'm sure there'll be more amendments and revisions there. And there's been no introduction in the U.S. Senate yet. So pretty much all the folks that monitor this activity expect there'll be a continuing resolution or a temporary extension. That no new 5-year bill or 6-year bill will get passed on time. But if it happens, maybe they'll beat the expectations and address that with all the other sundry issues that are before the Congress. But we'll monitor that. There's some things in the House bill, I think largely good, but there's things just to be aware of that if that follows through in the Senate could affect some of the things that we've been working on recently. So things like the carbon reduction program were to be, rescinded and no longer in the bill. Major changes for that Protect program, like Mark Schultz mentioned, no discretionary grant for that for like resiliency projects. The NEVI electric vehicle charging stations would become eligible like under CMAQ, the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Improvement Program, but not its own standalone formula funding. But Safe Streets and Roads for All was kind of another biggie that was included in the act, and we get sizable funding for these things that we've been seeing for the planning grants and for demonstration or implementation projects for Safe Streets and Roads for All investments. So those are some early highlights. We'll share more as they become available and materials come out on that front. But I'm gonna step on either Justin or Nate, anything that you've been monitoring or PennDOT has to weigh in on any of the new 5-year bill as well at this stage of things.
Just keeping an eye on it, just like you are, on what's coming out and seeing what programs may be affected or impacted, or where we might see some new funding or any new requirements for us to hold any other type of competitive programs. So
thank you. So overall, just monitoring, and we'll continue to share progress and updates as they come out. On the multimodal fund applications, DCD is open right now. I know some of you and your communities and other organizations are working on them for the DCD one that closes on July 31st. And we do have enclosed in the packet here, Kristen has compiled comments on the 12 applications for the PennDOT program that were submitted for the most recent round. So feel free to let us know if you have observations or comments or questions on those. But here throughout the summer, those will be evaluated by statewide committees and executives, and hopefully we'll see those come out later in the year and then open up a new PennDOT round, most likely, I think, for the fall. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there, anyone from PennDOT, but we should see a new round of that open up later in the year. And then the transportation alternative set aside, just again, take another round of kudos, hopefully. I know we shared that with everyone, but to get 5 out of 8 applications from within the region approved, that was huge. So congratulations to John, everyone, Union County Trail Authority for the rail trail crossing, East Buffalo Township for its Market Street project, City of Shamokin for Independence Street and their continual phases of improvements there. Clinton County, I think we have Steve Gibson on as well for the work on Hogan Boulevard proposed, and then also Mifflin County as well for its project. So really just, great crop of applicants or applications were put together. And so, really congratulate everyone on that success. Within the packet, I think that is the mainstays of what I wanted to touch upon. And so I'll just refer now to Don if you want to highlight some of the LTAP activities included in the staff report and what's going on with classes and everything.
Yeah, couple of brief things to mention. I've mentioned before that I'm a representative on the LTAP Advisory Committee and we had our meeting that we do twice a year this past week on June 4th. And just a few things to highlight there. There's always good discussion about what classes or what topics are most important to people in our region. And that's the basis for development of new classes or online offerings that people can log into. One thing I'll mention is that the federal manual on uniform traffic control devices has been updated for the first time in about 15 years, I think. And there's a class on that LTAP offers. So they're in the middle of updating that class right now. I think a lot of people will be interested in that when it comes out, because there's been some pretty significant changes in there on certain aspects of traffic control signs and signals and all that. Just to mention, for some things that some of you may know about, PennDOT is also updating their speed management plan, their strategic highway safety plan, their active transportation plan. So all of those efforts will affect what kind of classes LTAP puts on or the content for them as well. So things to watch. Another aspect that LTAP is expanding is what they're calling their soft skills classes. I've talked about that a little bit before because back in January, we hosted a class, a new one in that category called Leadership Development for Public Works. But they're continuing to offer new classes like that. One of them that was just hosted while we were actually in the meeting for the first time is called Keeping Your Teams in the Right Lane, Accountability. So I think that's an example of new kinds of classes that are not the traditional safety or traffic or engineering classes that LTAP will continue to come out with. So if your groups are interested in that, those are not specifically directed toward just public works people. They can be for supervisors and managers and even commissioners or others that aren't the line folks that are out in the field all the time. A couple of things that are being considered for new classes. They probably will end up doing maybe between 2 and 4 new classes that'll be offered for next year. But here's some of the ideas. And if you have any thoughts about something that's on this list that you think is a good idea, we've already given some feedback to the LTAP people about what we think our best ideas would be. But things that were mentioned are concrete best practices, advanced traffic signals, all-way stop intersection traffic control, safety countermeasures, bridge maintenance, public works technologies, roundabouts, right turn on red, safety issues, and other soft skills offerings. So pretty ambitious agenda, and they'll pick and choose, I think, what would be most attractive to the general population from that list. 2 other real quick things. On Tuesday this week, we do 2 special classes during the summer that technically are not LTAP classes, but we've done those on a regular basis, and they're approved by PennDOT. The first one that was this week was called Chainsaw Safety, and it's put on in conjunction with Penn College up at their field facility just off Route 15 up in Lycoming County. The second class is Equipment Operator Training, and that is yet to come. That'll be on July 24th. It's pretty much full up, and if you have anybody that would be interested in that, we do have a cancellation list, so it may be worth getting a name on there. If you know somebody that would like to attend that. Those are nice classes. They're a combination of inside instruction and then outside actual hands-on experience with things. So as Steve mentioned, I'll continue to work with the LTAP program. We've got classes that are already starting to get requested for this fall. So if you have any that you're interested in getting on the list, please let me know at this time too. Thanks.
Fun. Since you kind of have the floor here, would you want to address the functional classification items at all at this
Sure.
time?
Yeah, and that will be in connection with Sam. We have a map, I think, to put up on the screen, if you can bring that up, Steve.
Yeah, I'll hit stop sharing. There you go.
Yeah, as you can all clearly see on that map up there, the screen. MPOs are required to submit proposed changes to functional classifications of the roadways in our region. And that doesn't happen every year. It's much more infrequent than that, but it hasn't been done since 2021 here. We worked with Michael Baker on that. So my person sitting right behind me there was involved in that too. We started with a list that Michael Baker's group went through to identify potential roads that could be eligible or benefit from a change in functional classification. And I'll get into what makes that here in just a minute. But the one thing I wanted to point out first is there are 79 individual, and I'll call them pieces of roadway that are being recommended. And this will go up the chain through PennDOT district offices before it goes to the central office for review and approval. That will be done at the districts and then eventually go to the Federal Highway Administration. The legend that's over there on the left, I'll go down through all of those, but it lists the proposed changes and the types of classifications all the way from interstate, essentially down to local roadways. And each one of those 79 pieces of roadway, almost all of them consist of more than one, what PennDOT calls segments. So there's like 380, I think, different segments. It's a pretty complicated approach for this. And Michael Baker's group gave us a good head start with this. And then we're to the point now where very shortly we should be submitting this to the district offices. There's a spreadsheet that goes along with it that lists information for each one of those. And probably the most significant part of each one of those on the spreadsheet is justification for why that's being proposed. And justifications can be anything from increased traffic volumes to new development that might be on that roadway. Or after analysis, maybe there's a road that actually connects into the existing functional classification system that would be good to upgrade to make more connectivity and a more connected network, and some other factors that we looked at. So why is this important? It's probably the most significant question. Is if there's a roadway that is recommended to be put on the functional classification for the first time, it may make that eligible for some federal funding that it wasn't eligible for in the past. Or if there's an upgraded classification, that may go into looking at things more in an integrated way to look at specific funding or roadway projects through all this. So as you can see from the map, there are recommendations for every county that's in there. We do have a working spreadsheet, and that should be submitted probably to the districts, I think, fairly soon. We're gonna have one more look at the spreadsheet to make sure things match up. Sam, do you want to add anything?
I'll just say that I also have a paper copy of that if anybody wants to see it at its full scale. I know it's kind of hard to read on the PDF here, but we went against going with some smaller insets for some of these more clustered towns and things like that. We talked with PennDOT and they wanted to see a 24 by 36 version. So that way you can kind of scroll around on the PDF itself, and then the larger paper copy is pretty easy to decipher. So yeah, that's really all I have. If anybody wants to look at that, feel free. I can leave it out at the end of the meeting too.
I just say that compared to past submissions, this is a lot more than we've submitted, at least recently. And I would expect that one of the next steps after we submit is that we'll probably get together and meet with the PennDOT districts to review these and see if anyone has any questions about it.
Question, are these all up classifications?
No, they're not. There are some that are downgraded, but the far majority are upgrades.
The downgrades were probably more so related to the annual average daily traffic versus other factors, I would think.
Yeah, I think so.
Any questions for Don or Sam before we get spot?
Is that map in the packet?
No, that was not included. We can put it in the follow-up ticker if that's okay with its current version. Is that okay for Sam and Don? You don't have any accuracy concerns or issues at this stage of turn?
It's not necessarily a final draft, but it should be, at least all of the segments themselves should be pretty well done. If we add anything, we'll just need to put on, a spot for signature and things like that, so. Yep.
I'd say probably in the next meeting packet, be a good bet that the actual spreadsheet might be included in a bit more detail.
Now, my question is, the selection process of these particular roads and the decision to either up or down, was that coming from us at SEDA COG to PennDOT, or is this a collaborative between PennDOT and us to itemize each of these roads?
It's primarily from us and working with Brian at Michael Baker as a starting point. So I think some of the follow-up discussion might be, looking at individual portions and say, well, maybe that doesn't quite make sense, or maybe it needs to be a different classification or eliminated, whatever. So at this point, PennDOT has not seen this yet.
Okay.
Yeah, based on the prior screening and like Don mentioned, the various factors that are at play there. And then we did have coordination calls with each of the counties, if you recall, as part of the development as well to get to this stage. It's just been a lot of kind of like cleanup and working through some of the mapping issues and everything to get to this stage to have it all reconciled.
Just another question, put it together.
It was the coordination that went on a little while ago. I thought it was, but I wanted to verify that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty complex thing to look at these, and particularly because when this gets submitted to the federal highway people, it has to be done on segment by segment basis. And like I said, there are hundreds of segments that go with this. So matching that up to meet PennDOT's requirements is where we put most of the work in.
There's a lot of work, good job.
It is.
How often does this get done?
Steve, you want to answer that?
It's required after each decennial census, but you can do it as needed. Say you need, certain eligibility for funding and the roadway classification needs to be revised accordingly. Those kind of things occur, major land developments, happen, things like that to maybe downgrade or upgrade a roadway. But after every 10 years, you should be doing a comprehensive analysis.
Another aspect of that has some results on the map there is what's happening with the CSVT, not just the CSVT proper, but some of the surrounding roads that you'll see in there that have been realigned or are getting more or less traffic that has effects on that.
Yeah, building 13 miles of new road, that's another thing, and including that on the system.
If it doesn't have an effect,
Yeah.
Any other comments on that at all? If not, real quick to interject, just to confirm for our records, the phone number ending in 6567, who is that, please?
Randy Karshner, Columbia County.
Great, thank you, Randy, appreciate it. Okay, just turn to Chris. Was there anything you want to highlight with the multimodal or the TA set aside reporting in the packet at all?
No, not on the TA set aside. I was, we were all very pleased to see the number of funds that came into the region through that process. So great job for everyone who submitted. They were all excellent projects, and it was difficult for us to rank them and provide comment because they were all so great, but we were very happy to see that 5 were able to get funded. And just on the PennDOT multimodal, the total project cost requested for the region in those 12 projects was almost $12 million. And the actual amount requested from PennDOT, that was the total project cost, including the 30% match, but the requested amount for the region is almost 8.5 million. So quite a lot of projects coming in this time. So hopefully a significant portion of them get funded.
Thank you, Kristen.
And just to highlight the comments that we are submitting to PennDOT, they're due today, but they are in the packet if you see anything that stands out. That we're not addressing or that we're not adequately reflecting the situation on the ground, please let me know today so that I can amend any of the comments that we have for that.
Thank you. Any other kind of staff reporting item questions or comments anyone has? Okay, if not, we're up to kind of the main orders of business and things that the capstone or end stages here for what we've been coordinating on for a long time. And that's item G for the Transportation Improvement Program adoption covering fiscal year 27 to 30. And so I'll turn that over to Kristen to cover.
So as you know, at the last MPO meeting, the board approved going out to issuing the draft tip for public comment. That public comment period ran from April 22nd to May 22nd. And we did have a public hearing on May 4th at the Union County Government Center, which was actually pretty well attended for a public meeting. We had 3 citizens in the room to provide some comment, and we also utilized the social pinpoint site for some additional feedback on that. An outline of the public comment period is included in the packet along with the comments that were received. There were 6 of them. One comment or a change that I want to highlight is the last comment that is listed there. In the past, the kind of protocol has been on the transit tip to only include those transit providers that are kind of within our service area. So for example, Rabbit Transit, though they operate here, they're actually have been carried on the York MPO tip, and the same thing with STEP, even though they provide services in Clinton County, they've been listed on the Lycoming County, the Watts MPO tip in the past. And in coordination, thanks to Justin, there was a request from FCA that going forward and including this tip, that project that even though they may be, for example, Rabbit Transit may be based out of York, but the services or items that they provide within the SEDA COG region should be carried on the SEDA COG tip. So, for example, if they are purchasing the stop hopper vehicles that are only going to be used in this area, then they should be carried on our tip. So that was a change. And so the new transit tip has been updated to include the Rabbit Transit funding. And that has also been updated on the website. So you will see that there's a transit tip and a narrative. Those have been updated since the April meeting. So that's the only real change that happened. And there's some other additional items in the packet, and the background documents that went into the process are also available on the website. I don't know if anybody has any questions about the tip or anything that came in. Like I said, we did have 6 comments, and a lot of them got routed through PennDOT district, the appropriate PennDOT district, and they are, I believe, have all been responded to and addressed. So if there's no other questions or any questions at all, if acceptable, I'd request a motion to adopt the 2027-2030 tip.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we'll give the motion to Greg if that's okay. And John just edged out 2 other parties, so we'll give the second to John. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Just want to say thank you to Kristen and Steve for all their hard work on this, just a long process doing this and good coordination between SEDA COG, both districts. So again, thank you for all your hard work in this, and especially wanted to highlight too the Title VI comments that were, you guys did a really good job with that, according to central office, they reviewed everything, so really appreciate that. Some areas that, had some changes, but you guys passed the flying colors, so again, thanks for all your work.
Great, thank you, Justin. Yeah, it's a huge collaborative effort, lots of upfront planning, and certainly we were pleased to get some public comment, higher level than maybe is normal. So we had folks at the meeting, shared some input and some comments, and then we had people follow up with emails afterward, and central office and the districts helped us, for a few project level comments that maybe we didn't have the best answers to as staff on those. We've provided all of them, and Kristen has the listing compiled in there. So thanks for all your efforts throughout. And kind of as a tip, once we get this adopted and sent off to the state and then approved the statewide basis, we'll beginning next year speaking with you all about coordinated activities for the next tip update. So it's kind of just recurring things, and it's a fluid document as we discuss at each meeting with all these adjustments. But thanks for everybody around the table and online here, all your your input and influence throughout. So very helpful. So the resolution that's in your packet, page 51, we'll get that signed along with some of the other checklists and cover letter items and off to PennDOT after today. To go through the next channels with the State Transportation Commission, Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, and it'll take effect starting October 1st. So thanks, everyone. I didn't hear any objections or any abstentions, so we'll move forward. That is unanimous. Next is the other big item for today, coming to the end of the long-range transportation plan development and adoption, a resolution that's in your packet as well for that. And so any introductory things, Kristen, before we go to the PowerPoint?
Yeah, so at the last MPO meeting, again, the board approved moving forward with public comment for the LRTP. The final draft was sent in the meeting reminder packet with the packet on Monday, and I hope everyone had a chance to review that document. But otherwise, I'll turn it over to Brian to run through some of the major outcomes from the public.
Thank you, Kristen. Good morning, everyone. I guess while I have the floor, I just wanted to start by thanking Dawn for being such a great colleague over the years, and especially as we work together on the long-range plan and functional classification and other initiatives that you've done for the MPO. You've been a great colleague, enjoyed working with you on these things, and I trust that our paths will continue to cross down the road. I was really today's draft plan is a culmination of a lot of work over the past 2 years plus. Kristen, I was looking at my notes, and our first meeting anyway on this was June of 2024. June 6th, so almost 2 years to the day since we started meeting on this and going over the all the work that was required for updating the plan. So really what we're looking at today is really the culmination of 2+ years of work with data collection and analysis and all of the outreach that the MPO has done with not only the public, but also specific stakeholders throughout the region, identifying projects, identifying recommended transportation policy for the region. It's all encapsulated within this draft plan. So for our purposes today, I'm just going to, similar to what Kristen did with the tip, I just want to provide members here with an overview of what has transpired with the LRTP as well, kind of a similar process where at the last meeting you approved to release the draft for public review and comment. And so that has really dominated our time and attention over the past couple of weeks. Similar to the tip, the MPO had scheduled a open house there on May 4th. And so we kind of piggybacked onto the tip process. So we had a separate meeting, same venue there at the Union County Government Center back in May. And we were pleased to see several in attendance at that meeting and receive some comments there through the meeting and then afterwards. And so for our purposes today, I just wanted to give you all a kind of a flavor or an overview of some of the comments that did come in on the draft plan and where we go from here with those. So next slide, please. Next slide.
That's okay.
I just have a couple slides that provide an overview of what we heard from the public, including some of the points you see here on the screen. Local population estimates are likely undercounting key groups such as plain sect communities, and we do acknowledge that, as well as some of the freight and commodity flow data being outdated. And we do acknowledge that the freight data that was used in the plan was drawn from the freight analysis framework or the FAF data. This is a free data set that's available from FHWA. It consists of modeled data. It's always changing. And so in light of that, it's a bit behind actual commodity moves. But as a model data set, it is really the best data that the MPO has available to work with for planning purposes. And we do acknowledge that the FAF data in some cases can be less accurate for certain commodity moves like coal, where demand is changing more dramatically than maybe for some other commodities. Again, this is a data set that's constantly being updated. We are anticipating a new data set, FAF 6, should be out sometime later this year and should offer a recalibration of some of the commodity flows that we're seeing shown within the plan. Some other public comments. freight and economic shifts. This kind of goes right along with the previous comment on the commodity flows. Ongoing public concerns with increases in truck traffic and the impacts that has, especially on our rural and local roads, our smaller, 4-digit SRs, kind of impacts that's having on those lower order networks. The need for stronger linkages between transportation system planning and economic activity. I think the MPO acknowledges that there's a role there not only for the long range plan, but also for other plans like the SEDS plan, comprehensive economic development strategy. But the plan does acknowledge that transportation, if it's not properly planned for, that can be a brake on economic activity. But if it is properly planned for, it can really help improve access to jobs and labor market, tourism destinations, as well as freight networks. A couple other comments I'll highlight here. Interestingly, we received comments that dealt more with engineering aspects. Really not used to seeing comments of that nature on a long-range plan, but we did acknowledge those and refer those to PennDOT for a disposition there. Other comments dealt with the need for better signal coordination to improve traffic flow and reduce delays, especially along arterials that traverse maybe multiple municipalities. There'd be a greater need there for the municipalities to work together on signal coordination. I'm thinking of corridors like 11 and 15 down in Monroe Township, especially would be a good example there. But the plan does acknowledge the need for improvements in those areas as well. In our next slide, multimodal needs, safety, and local priorities. The plan does acknowledge gaps that exist within our pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure. And as many of you are aware, the MPO right now is going to be beginning work on updating its active transportation plan. So I think we're hopeful that our work on the active transportation plan will go toward addressing some of these gaps that we see in those networks. The need for better trail connectivity and safer crossings, such as the treatments you see here at the Buffalo Valley Rail Trail there in Union County. I'm sure if you've used that trail, you've appreciated some of those safety treatments that exist there. Other requests came in to elevate specific corridors, such as Route 220 through Clinton County, and we have upgraded those, made changes there, as well as a desire for more balanced geographic representation and inclusion of local priorities. I think visually we want to make sure that all the counties were there was a balance there in terms of how all the counties were treated within the plan. Although, Brad, we did keep Juniata County on the front cover, no changes there, but we did go back through and make sure that all the counties were properly represented visually within the plan. In terms of the updates themselves, we have updated Appendix B, and that is the listing of illustrative projects. These are projects that lie outside of the 12-year program. Appendix B includes projects that are beyond fiscal constraint, but these are projects that the MPO, working together with the district and PennDOT Central Office, that'll really be a resource going forward as you look at developing future programs. To be able to draw from Appendix B. The transit tip, Kristen mentioned some of the changes there that had to be made, and those are reflected also in the LRTP. And then we also provided more clarity, more discussion with regard to freight flows across the region. Again, going back to regional coal moves and some of the changes that are anticipated there with the closure of the Fisher mining operation in Lycoming County and some of the impacts that may have for the region, the greater SEDA COG region.
Just real quick there, if you're not aware, obviously coal has been used a lot in the past for power plants, and you'd see carload after carload going to various ones, whether it be at Washingtonville or others. And so now a lot of that is really going, I think, to the port of Baltimore and being exported out of the country. So that's really kind of changed the flows and it's changed the volume, certainly, just how coal is being used. And that kind of comment came from somebody that's a freight industry expert and practitioner. So thanks for touching on that, Brian.
Yeah, not only that, but also the increase in frac sand that's been coming into the region for transfer to trucks. So those broader changes and trends are now reflected in the revised draft. So that really brings us to this moment. We're looking to the MPO members for adoption of the draft plan. We have had conversations with staff with regard to providing hard copies of the plan. So it will be available not only in PDF, but we'll be providing hard copies as well for the NPO, and we'll be distributing those as soon as they become available. I will leave it there.
Great, thank you, Brian. Any questions, comments for Brian or Kristen on what came out of the public comment period process or any changes to the revised final draft version of the long range plan? Lincoln.
One question. I saw on the one slide you had a thing about roundabouts and safety concerns. Was that a comment from somebody in the general public that they had concerns about a roundabout and the safety of it? Or was that our view of it being a safety thing that we can utilize to make a road safe?
As several of you are aware, the general public, has some issues sometimes or discomfort with roundabouts, so it was a person, yeah, there was more related to that.
It was related to the general public.
Yeah, there was someone who I don't even know that we're familiar with who it was. I mean, we have their name and contact information, but they're not someone that we deal with on a regular basis. But they did have a comment. The rumble strip, and also what they perceive as a safety issue around it.
Some of these are kind of what PennDOT fields frequently, like customer care concerns. That's what some of these comments kind of pertain to, as Brian alluded to as well, over certain treatments that are used, or certain perceived safety issues.
Driving through them.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's one of the reasons why that's being considered for an LTAC class, because it's not just here. It's pretty universal.
Yeah, and what I've heard a lot is that there's a perception of more crashes. The real safety benefit, as far as I understand with roundabouts, is that those crashes, so even if there may be more crashes, they're gonna be side swipes. They're not gonna be head-on crashes, and you're less likely to have the FSI, suspected serious injury or fatalities, as you would at a normal four-way, crossing, so.
So I'll make a motion to adopt it.
Thank you, Lincoln. Do we have a second? Give that to Greg Edge, Montour County for the second. Everyone in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very great, thanks. Culmination of a lot of activity, a lot of work. Yeah, you have to begin this 30 months in advance of the expiration date of June 25th here. So appreciate all the staff, all the members, Michael Baker team, and their sub-consultants to get us to this stage. We'll get the adopted date stamped on the final version. We'll get that on our website, and as Brian said, we'll have printed copies distributed to the membership as well. So you'll look forward to those if you want that in addition to the electronic. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
We do have another action item here included in today's materials. We're up to item I. It's the MPO self-certification resolution. In the past, a lot of times we would handle this ahead of the tip, but given the guidance, to do that afterward, and we just plugged it in after the long-range plan here as well. So on page 65, this begins of the packet. It's a self-certification resolution and some supporting documents. I think I need to hit stop sharing and start the other one here in a moment. So with being a smaller MPO, we don't have an urbanized area footprint of a 200,000 population or higher. So we don't go through those certification processes with PennDOT and the Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration. So we're charged with self-certifying that we're satisfying all the federal planning regulations. And so that's what this document covers. Again, starting on page 65 of your packet, every 2 years we do this. If there's a new Transportation Reauthorization Act, we'll have to make some amendments or other regulations. This is largely the same. They're just slight modifications to the bottom of page 65 with reference to DBE contract goals, so disadvantaged business enterprises. Some things are still in flux there with the recent executive orders, and then how PennDOT and the state is handling goals that are established for performance and inclusion of disadvantaged business enterprises. That was really the lone change to this document and the materials. So the wording that was included there with the interim final rule, was included to address that. The other normal kind of exhibits or supporting documents just kind of touch on the Title VI pieces, the Americans with Disability Act requirements, how we handle the public participation involvement and the TIP financial constraint as well. And those are usual items that we reflect, and kind of typical across all the smaller MPOs across the state with how they do this resolution and certify that they're addressing the necessary planning regulations that exist. So with having to take that step, we'll ask if there's any questions first, and then look for a motion to approve the self-certification resolution here today.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Lincoln, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
On the job. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Appreciate that. Approval as well. That's our last main item and our last action item for today. So we'll roll right into the item J, Active Transportation Committee update. And so this is just verbal, nothing in your packet. Just want to touch on a couple things here. Our Active Transportation Committee meets quarterly. The last one was in May. Those of you that were part of that one, we had a guest presentation recording of a National Association webinar on e-bikes and e-motos, e-motorcycles. I found it pretty elucidating and informative. I didn't really know some of the technologies and what's out there, what's available for sale that doesn't comply with any regulations or ordinances. So we'll continue to monitor that kind of thing and share more information. Certainly our municipalities are dealing with that. State legislative, the General Assembly is working on some things there as well. So that's just kind of part of our guest presentation things. If you ever have ideas for that committee, feel free to let us know. Recently, the state transportation or statewide active transportation summit was held in the Harrisburg area about a week or two ago. There's some things on there I think would be appealing, some on the land development side and ordinances as well for active transportation. So we might look to schedule one of those, and did, as mentioned, Bob, have an outreach on the kind of sidewalk ordinances for municipalities down in South Central PA as well. So those are ones we kind of had in mind right now for the next guest presentation, but feel free to float or propose those at any time. We'll next meet on August 19th, I believe, for the full Active Transportation Committee, and can share more, following up with that. And we're concording with the new Susquehanna Greenway Partnership staff. If they've had some turnover in staffing, so we're continuing to meet with them as part of the Active Transportation Committee work and the work groups as well. The other two main things, the complete streets prioritization that we were doing, working with Gannett Fleming and outreach with all the counties. That's coming to a closure point here for that compiled matrix listing and also the web map. So thanks for all your involvement in that and supporting them with that effort. And then it can be certainly iterative. We'll make adjustments as needed to that, but we'll hopefully have that by June 30th. And then, like Brian talked about, the active transportation plan, the current one for the regions for 2019. So we're kicking off that update. We'll be working with Brian's team on some of the surveying and interviews, focus groups, listening sessions, all that kind of activity. Probably leverage a Wikimap tool for that as well, so people can easily drop, project questions, other observations they want to note on active transportation needs. And then we'll continue forward with all the data and analysis collaboration with the membership, and hopefully by the end of next June, maybe have a final version for your consideration and approval. But a lot of this kind of upfront work we've been doing, should really facilitate that active transportation plan process. So more to come on that as we move forward here in the summer months, and please help us with any of the kind of promotion or other marketing of that activity.
Dave, my understanding is the scope of that plan update is going to be larger than it was previously. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So we'll cover the entire MPO region, needs, priority projects, strategies, because the initial one kind of omitted Mifflin and Juniata counties, just the way that was developing and came together. So, yep, it'll cover that. We'll look at new technical analysis, kind of things like bicycle level of traffic stress, pedestrian level of traffic stress, maybe priority networks or hubs and spokes and things like that for needs, and then make all applicants hopefully as successful as possible for these active transportation programs by this update. So yeah, your active involvement throughout and shaping will be critical. So we'll look forward to that. And just like Don mentioned, for the LTAP, after our active transportation workshop back in March, it was successful in Montana. One of the things we kind of thought about was let's do the LTAP active transportation course probably here this fall. So people that couldn't get to that, from a municipal level, can hopefully come out and attend the active transportation course, and then we can always be having conversations as we do with different project sponsors and lining them up with funding programs and to become as successful as possible. So there'll be more follow-ups after that, and then plug the things into the statewide PennDOT active transportation plan being updated as well. Any comments from the membership on any active transportation projects or ideas?
Just a general comment, Steve, there's so much going on. A lot of thanks to you and to your team for keeping all this stuff moving. I'm really impressed.
Thank you. You're welcome. Appreciate that. There's nothing else there. We're up to kind of the home stretch. Get a little feedback. Okay, thanks. And item K, member forum. So we put some of the interest items here.
Steve,
Yes. Go ahead, Dan.
can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, since it is a member forum, this is kind of like I'm sorry, am I too quick here? Okay.
No.
Okay, this is the good news, bad news routine. The good news is our transportation facility up on 4th Street in Wingsport. We're having our ribbon cutting on June 26th, so that construction project has finally come to fruition, and we'll be able to house our vehicles in a secure facility. So we're definitely looking forward to that. On the bad news routine, unfortunately, because of rising costs through fueling, through maintenance, and for other areas, labor costs, we are going to have to implement a slight fare adjustment, fare increase July 1st. The average fare per trip will go up about 6%. It's probably the smallest increase we've had to do over the last 10 years at any given time. I think I did email something to you on that, just a copy of the press release, but if not, I will get it out to you. But I did want to announce it for the entire group, since we do provide shared ride services in Clinton County.
Great, thanks, Dan. Yeah, we're getting some feedback. You could just the way that's it. Thanks, Dan. I put in the chat here your website where it describes the fare increase to start July 1st. So folks that are online can see that now. Those of you afterward, you'll be able to access that. But on the STEP website, describes that fare increase, and we're seeing that kind of across the board. I know other transit operators are dealing with that. Gasoline, diesel prices, other inflationary pressures, and just the number of years that have lapsed since fare increases were last instituted. So you're not alone in that boat, obviously, Dan. And so thanks for sorting through that and working through that. And there in the chat for everyone to kind of check out or wants to consult that, we do have the table that's on your website. Anything else you wanted to share about that, Dan?
No, not at this present time. The good news is it'll help us, in a sense, with some of the advancements we're putting in, because the Find My Ride schedule, we're getting it tested cross county, all of our runs, and hopefully within the next couple weeks that will be available to go cross county. We've been getting Find My Ride schedule trips from Clinton to Clinton and from Lycoming to Lycoming, but finally, hopefully, everything will be in place for us to go cross county with that. So we're looking forward to that. So there's some good news there.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else in the room or online, any updates from your organizations you'd like to share under the member forum?
Anybody uses the Buffalo Valley Rail Trail, resurfacing is almost done. It's been a subject of quite a bit of controversy for people wanting to come here and visit, but we are very, very close, as Sean Hurst from LDG can probably back me up on. So it would be remiss if I didn't mention it. It's been a long time coming.
Great, thanks for coordinating all that, and everybody will be pleased that's out there riding and walking on it throughout the summer. Any other folks for your organization? Any updates you'd like to share? I'll hit one that's on page 72 there, also public transportation related. Back in May, since the last MPO meeting, we did attend up at Wellspan Evangelical, a press conference that Rabbit Transit put together. So we were glad to be part of that day. We promoted that on social media and everything as well. But they had a press conference addressing, rural transit and healthcare, those huge needs that exist for people to get their medical appointments, and also, workforce related as well. So there might be some follow-up from that, and state budget comes together, obviously, hopefully this month or early July. Might be some things on the shared ride, public transportation funding landscape as well. So I wanted to note that from what's in the packet from our end. We do have about the Bridge Investment Program, the federal U.S. Department of Transportation program for discretionary grant purposes exists. That's open through June 29th. Also the, very competitive infra or nationally significant multimodal grant program. It's hard to keep up with some of the names. That one's open with 2 different tracks, track 1 and track 2, different deadlines, I think, in July. So that's for really large scale projects, obviously, to go on under that. But those are 2 federal programs that are currently open. Wanted to touch upon there if they're of interest or you want to check out. And we do usually have them ticker, obviously at the end, that note on these grant programs that you can click and review as well. And then we just had some press releases in the packet if you didn't catch wind of those, some highlights about the construction season activity. Those were rolling out from each district level and highlighting major projects. We had District 3's last time. This one has District 2's there. You can see the bullets for the significant projects within each of the District 2 counties. Press release on the fatality data from 2025. Nice to see the decline, and hopefully all of our combined efforts will see the reductions even further. So those were the items that we had in the packet. And before we would close, just wanted to give that final opportunity. Anything else that any of the members want to share for good of the order? Okay, I don't see any hands raised or chat items. A little applause coming from Lisa, so thank you for that. If there's nothing further, we'll be able to close a little bit early and save a little time off for you here for the rest of your Friday. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Steve. Just wanted to add, I did get an answer back on those concrete repairs. So for both of the intersections, there's severe cracking going on the roadway for both of the intersections, and we're just kind of planning on repairing those to prevent having to fully reconstruct them.
Thank you.
And I also just want to add on behalf of the PNP unit at District 3, congratulations, Don, on retirement. Hopefully all the free time doesn't leave you too bored.
Thank you.
Thanks for that immediate follow-up, Preston, on the amendment there. Anything further before we adjourn and reconvene on August 7th?
Hey, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We're officially adjourned then. Thank you.
Sir. So. Like, stick around every day for.
Mine says pause. You did it, didn't say stop
Yeah, I
recording.
don't think so.
Why did you?
Close here, so then, unless there's something all over.
I've got beat up the.
That's mine, it's better than all, just stop it. And then you close, I think it stays. It's hard to forget, sometimes teams is different.
Yeah. I think if I just leave it or visit.
Maybe I'll get mine again. Thank you.